In this forecast, a major pattern change will bring a cool down but potential flooding to portions of the United States next week. An Invest 97L continues to move to the west. Will this become our fourth named storm of the year? All of that and more is coming right up. Hey everybody, welcome back to another max velocity weather forecast, and today what we're going over is that flash flooding potential over the next several days, including one that could come next week that could affect as many as 50 million people, as well as the potential for severe weather, the cool down that's expected next week, and as well as a little update on the tropics. Let's start though with the ongoing flash flooding potential for the next few days. It does include areas in the southwest just due to the fact we still have monsoon weather currently ongoing. You can see that there is a slight risk for flash flooding, extends all the way from southwestern portions of Wyoming all the way back through California. Now what this means is that there is a 15% probability within a 25-mile radius of flash flooding. A lot of the storm activity that we're going to see in this area over the next few days is really going to stay stationary. I mean, you can see even going into tomorrow, the slight risk barely moves. It doesn't really include New Mexico, but it includes the rest of the four corner states. And eventually going into Saturday, you can just again see that slight risk hardly moving at all. So we're going to see additional rain over the next few days in these areas. So it's going to be a dangerous overall next 3 days for these regions as more rain continues to fall. Here's a look at the future timing for Arizona. You can start to see this is just this afternoon. Storm activity will fire up. A lot of it again is going to stay scattered. This is not going to be a widespread event, but it will be again scattered, and any of these storms that become more stationary will have that potential again for some flash flooding concerns. As much as 3 to maybe 4 inches of rain could happen in isolated spots on any given day over the next few days. You can see even going to tomorrow, same story, more shower and storm activity. Tomorrow might be a better chance though of a little bit more of a flash flooding component than today, but regardless, again, just stay safe out there, turn around, don't drown, get to higher ground if you're under any of these flash flood warnings. Here's a look at the rainfall totals over the next 24 to 48 hours. Overall, the rain, again, it's going to stay very isolated to scatter on where we see this flash flooding potential. However, you can definitely see here on the computer models that there are very isolated spots that can reach as high as 6 to 7 inches of rain. So this is an area, again, we'll have to watch some spotty showers and storms that could very well produce some flash flooding. Otherwise, most areas should be between 1 to 2 inches of rain over the next 72 hours or so. Louisiana, there's another story ongoing here, really along the coastline of Louisiana on the southern coast that is just south of New Orleans. There's a potential of some flash flooding. You can actually see even near Homa, for example, rain between 6 to 8 inches could even occur in this area over the next 24 to 48 hours, depending on where all the rain sets up. But we're going to see ongoing shower and storm activity due to an air mass that is very favorable for really stationary showers and storms. This is a look at the future radar over the next few days. Just today, for example, very stationary rain. Again, where this sets up is still a little bit questionable, but where it really does happen, it seems to be just off the coast. But if it's able to go far enough north, we could see a flash flooding concern right there along the southern portions of the Louisiana coastline. None of this is a tropical storm or anything like that, so don't be concerned about that. But obviously, flash flooding concerns could exist there in south portions of Louisiana. And here's a look at the dew points, by the way. They are so oppressive in this area. I mean, we're talking mid 70s for dew points right now. That is going to continue, at least it looks like, through Saturday. It very well could continue beyond that. You can see the cold front, by the way, it'll start to dip down to the south. A little bit more defined, as you can kind of see. The dew points, obviously, off here to the north are, for the most part, in the 50s or low 60s. Down to the south, whole different story. Low 70s across those areas. So it's going to, again, be at a very oppressive next several days there in Louisiana. Temperatures as well, for reference, you can see over the next few days, temperatures overall are going to stay, again, a little bit cooler in these areas, mainly due to the fact, again, we'll have that air mass with more cloud cover and more shower and storm activity that will lead to a higher relative humidity, though, in those regions. All right, let's hop over into the jet stream over the next several days. Obviously, there will be a big pattern change coming next week if you haven't already heard. This going to this weekend, though, have a little trough starting to kind of exit out of New England. That will not bring much in terms of rain at this point, other than maybe on the New England areas. Other than that, you can see there a huge ridge will be kind of building in here. That will prevent a whole lot of a cool down, at least for the next few days. You think it's going to last a while, but it won't actually last too long. Next week is when we could see a big cool down. Here's a look at the trough that could eventually come into areas like New England. That could bring some flash flooding potential to almost 50 million people. So we'll have to watch that very closely. But overall, again, chances of that happening still kind of in the mix at this point. I mean, the confidence is not overly high yet, but we very well could see some flash flooding concerns up that direction. Otherwise, a huge ridge is still going to be dominating many regions, especially especially in the southwest. However, we may see a cool down there in portions of the southern and central plains. More on that here in just a moment. Here's a look at the rainfall totals that are estimated by the European model at this given time. The GFS model is also estimating fairly similar readings at this point. You can kind of see, though, depending on where this trough sets up, it really could determine where all this rain does fall. It seems like it's going to be pretty much a stationary trough, which basically means we could very well see a lot of rain in a few days of time. Now, that could cause some flash flooding concerns. As you can see here, the rain differences right now by the European model, for example, are significant. Anywhere from Springfield and Hartford to the east is above an inch. Anywhere back off to the west hardly has a single inch of rain, not even really any rain out that direction. So it's going to really depend on where this trough sets up. We could even see this become tropical, maybe a tropical storm if it's able to go far enough to the east. Again, a lot in between now and then. We'll keep you updated again, the latest here on Max Velocity. All right, let's hop into the temperatures over the next several days. There will again be a big temperature drop. We already are seeing that in the northeast. However, some heat will fill back in some of those areas, but eventually going to late next week, we very well could see the potential for a pretty decent cool down across areas like the central and southern plains. So we'll have to watch that pretty closely. Again, any of this could very well bring very nice relief in terms of the temperatures. We've had a heat wave all summer long in a lot of areas like Texas, for example. So there may be some relief coming your way. All right, there's a chance for severe weather after all of this. For today. It's a very small risk. It's a marginal threat back over in Idaho, as well as northeastern Oregon and southeastern Washington. This is going to be the main potential of some isolated damaging winds. Not a whole lot beyond that. Here's a look at the future radar. A few showers and storms will develop this afternoon, may pose an isolated damaging wind threat, and tomorrow will be a similar story. Again, maybe some isolated damaging winds, but nothing too crazy beyond that. Here's a look at the tropics. Not a whole lot going on as of right now. We do have that one wave that is likely not to develop anymore. It has a 0% chance of developing over the next 5 days. It's basically near zero. It's not an exact 0% chance. It's like 1 to 2%. It's pretty close to not being existent at this point. But this system likely not to develop. There is a load of shear. I'm talking, it is such an unfavorable atmosphere in this region. It's just going to make for this little area of development to really not be able to develop. Right now, Invest 97L not expected to develop, but if it does, it would likely have to develop somewhere back up here near Bermuda. But again, I highly doubt that'll even happen at this point. All right, here's a look at the temperatures, by the way. Going into next Wednesday, as I kind of mentioned before, we'll have a pretty decent cool down. That again includes a large portion of the United States, New England, the Midwest, a lot of the upper and mid portions of the Mississippi Valley, northern plains, a lot of those areas in the 70s and 80s for highs on Wednesday. It's going to be a beautiful one next week, it looks like, for a lot of those locations. Unfortunately, Texas, though, still dealing with the heat, but there might be some good news after that. We'll keep you updated again with the latest on that. Make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe if you haven't already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting and All Dense Repair.